Okay, so just a little bit of a recap. We're in the first Maamar Likutei Torah for Parshas Shelach, Shelach Noshim. So we said that the Meraglim were very, very important people, Nesiya Eida, and we asked what was the reason not to go into Eretz Yisrael, and then we asked, what is Eretz Yisrael? Its praise is Eretz Chalot Vash. Clearly, that's the praise isn't the physical thing. There's a deep meaning into this praise, and certainly that nothing would be praised with with food things. So there has to be a certain deeper meaning. So then we asked the question about why it says Le'al lechem levada yichya adam ki al kol meitzi pi havaya yichya adam. A person doesn't live on bread alone. A person lives on the meitzi pi Hashem that's inside of the bread. And we explained that it doesn't mean like a person would just read the pasuk, that a person doesn't just live on bread, but they're created by Hashem. That there's that in it too. But specifically, it means that when you're eating bread and you're receiving the chayes from the bread, it's not the bread that's giving you the chayes; it's a meitzi pi Hashem that's giving you chayes. And we asked, well, 1 second, the bread comes from Maamar Tacha Desha. The bread comes from the fact that it grows from the ground, and that was created from Hashem. So that's the chayes that's inside the bread. The Adam comes from Maamar Nasa Adam. Let's make man. That too is Maamar Hashem. So why does the person need the chayes from the bread? So we answered that there's a difference between the chayes that's found in the tzach, the chayes that's found in inanimate objects, in plants, in animals, and the chayes that's inside of a person. The chayes that's inside of a person comes from Tikkun. The chayes that's inside of the tzach, of an inanimate object, or from something that grows, or from an animal, that comes from Tohu. What's Tohu and what's Tikkun? Tohu has much stronger light. It says when Hashem first created the world, the first thing is he took from his area in Seif and he made spiritually amakim pone. He made a void. The first Tzimtzum, we say, is Siluk. He leaves a certain area. Now, it's not that he really leaves a certain, that's not even that his light leaves a certain area. It's hidden in there. But as far as that area is concerned, there's right now nothing except for a little trace left over, and the trace that we talk about, that everything comes from the Rishimu, it comes after the part that we deal with. It comes after Hashem sends a smaller light, a more concentrated light into that Malkampana, which is a light that's only applicable to 10 spheres. It's a light that's for 10 different spheres. Before that, you talk about unlimited, totally. The mashal on that, the Rebbe Shab explains a lot, is if a Rav is he has his own thoughts, and he's trying to give over his thoughts to the student. So he has to first completely go away from his own thoughts, the way he thinks, because the way he thinks, the student's not going to be able to receive. And then a new thought, the same subject, but a new thought that's the way to explain the subject to the student. Even when he removes all of his thoughts, the way he was thinking before, they're still there, behelim. So that's a good mashal. They're still there in a hidden way. That's a good parable for explaining how Hashem was misalik, the air in safe, and then brought down a new air. In that new air itself, in the limited light, so to speak, in the light that's there for 10 spheres, which for us would be unlimited, but compared to air in safe above the Lifnei Tzimtzum, before the Tzimtzum, it's called limited in comparison to that. You have different levels. One level is Tohu. In Tohu, you have 10 different areas. You have an area that's there for Chesed. You have the Chayes from the Eibshter that's there for Chesed. You have the Chayes that's there for Gvori. You have the Chayes that's there for each one of the 10 spheres. The Kalim there are very small. And the Kalim are not able to receive the Chayes from Hashem. It's because they're not so batal. Whatever is batal, whatever nullifies itself or is nullified to Hashem, just like Hashem is the source of all life, it has life, and Hashem shines on it, Hashem shines within it, inside of it, and it's a part of the Chayes, or it's very connected with Hashem. These Kalim weren't connected on the level where they could receive the Eiros Merubim of Tohu, the great Eiros that are there of Tohu. So therefore they weren't vessels for Hashem's light, and therefore they broke. And therefore they're the Sheirish Ruchni, they're the first root of everything down here. It says they fell down, and they're the root of everything down here that's not connected in a revealed way to Hashem. And what is that? Obviously, Klippa, Sitracher, stuff that in the world here to conceal on Hashem. They don't have the light of Hashem in them, and they're the source of something that doesn't have the light of Hashem in them. However, the Eiros of Tohu are very high, and the Kelim themselves are high. It's just that they couldn't receive that light. They couldn't receive those Eiros because they weren't vocal enough to receive those Eiros on that level. Then you have Tikkun. Tikkun, the Eiros are less. The light is less, but the Kelim are bottle. Chesed can work with Gevurah, which is Chesed recognized. Chesed is very important, and its job is to bring out Chesed, the Chesed of Hashem, and that's its main job. Or maybe its only job. But Gevurah of Atzilus is also, a Midah of Hashem is also important, and therefore one can work with the other, and Gevurah feels the same way. Because what's the main thing in Tikkun is that all of these midas are bottled to Hashem. All of these kelim are bottled to Hashem. So in order to receive something that has the level of Tohu, chayis, that comes from the level of Tohu, that's from the person taking in the tzach, which has in it, which its root is from the level of Tohu, and therefore it takes in a meitzi pi Hashem, which is higher than the person himself. And of course we know that even though Tohu comes before Tikkun, but in the essence of Hashem, and not in the essence, but on a higher level, in the roots, Tikkun is higher. And the Bnei Yisrael, actually, because Hashem chose, so we have a Kesher Atzmi with Hashem. Because the same mashal on the tzach and the person, or the same fact that the tzach comes from Tohu and the person comes from Tikkun, you also find the difference between Tohu and Ra, that or in Klippus and Likutei Torah, that all that comes from Tohu, and that's why when we purify it, we bring in new lights, higher lights of Kedusha, but still, even though that's from Tohu, and we're from Tikkun, the Sheirish of Kedusha is much, much stronger and much, much higher, and is the only thing that has a Kesher Pnimi with Hashem, an inner Kesher with Hashem, because Hashem chose it. And of course, Hashem is the Makar of only good, and even Tohu was created only so that it should be purified. So holding now, where Acharinin who kimeitzi pi havaya shebetzach hu inyan haripach netzutz shenaflu b'shvir zakinim. The meitzi pi havaya that's in the tzach, that's in the daemon and the chay and the daemon, the mech and the chay, the animal life and lower, who inyan haripach netzutz are the 288 netzutzes that fell in Shvir Sakenim. In general, there were more netzutzes, but after Golus Mitzrayim, we were invited everything except for 288. And those sparks, those 288 holy sparks, all of the other Golus and all the other things that have been done since Mitzrayim, actually, are to lift up those 288. And right before Mashiach, it says that we've accomplished that as well. But now it's to bring it out to ourselves and to others. A person comes from Tikkun, and therefore his life force, he has to receive his life force from the tzach, which is connected with Tohu. Because the root of these 288 Nitzutzos is very, very great and much greater than what the person naturally has in terms of his everyday connection to the Eibishter until he brings out his essential connection, which is even higher than the Tzach. And so too, why does the neshama come down? The neshama is standing right in front of Hashem, and that's the greatest thing that could be. Why does the neshama come down to Elam Hazan? Because through being masakin the guf and through through doing iskafia and bringing down the sitra achra, just like it changes the sitra achra, Hashem lifts the neshama up. It's a midah k'neged midah thing. Just like the person comes down and he takes what's gone away from Hashem, but what comes from a level of Tohu, and he brings it back to its source, so Hashem takes the neshama and changes the neshama around and brings it to a higher level. And that's why the neshama comes down to Elam Hazeh, Shofel Davke. K'dei likafis sitra achra, k'dei shal yidei zeh yistalik yikor l'kush brichu, ki yisrein haba min ha'cheshech davke. In order that through doing iskafia on the sitra achra, through breaking the sitra achra, if you're not listening to the Yitzhara, if you're not even through not listening to one's own physical desires, and through changing around one's nefesh bahamis, and through changing around stuff in the world that's not conducive right now for Hashem, comes out a great, great light, and it's a great light that only comes out from this darkness. There was darkness before, and when the darkness is changed around, a much greater light comes out than what's regularly, or what would be shining without it, and that's called Kiyisin Haba Min HaCheshech Davka, like the light that comes specifically from darkness, from purifying darkness, and from changing darkness into light.